It's been a long while since I've played Star Citizen, mainly because my computer died about 12 months ago, and that's why I haven't actually been making any videos recently. But I have a new computer, it's super powerful, and so we're back at it. Since it's been so long since I last played, and since I only have the starter package, my first concern was just finding a way to make enough money to get some new ships. What you'll see here is the Drake Vulture. It's the most entry-level salvaging ship at this point in time, which lets you break down damaged or broken ships for their raw materials. Now, this thing costs 2.6 million credits in-game, so before we go any further, I'll have to show you how I got to this point. Star Citizen has many different player organizations. I'm part of one called Nova Intergalactic. I found them super useful in having something to do, having other players to ally with, and especially in this instance, getting off the ground and starting to earn some money. Now, Orgashi, one of the members of Nova Intergalactic, was taking out his Reclaimer, the ship you see me on right now. It's the largest salvaging ship in the game. It's about 6 stories tall, and certainly very well equipped to break down ships. He paid for a salvaging contract, which is the ship you see us inspecting right now. He advised to always check the ships because sometimes they have cargo left on board, and so we're EVAing over to the ship, as you can see. We found the ramp was a bit damaged, so we weren't sure if it would open, but thankfully it did. And as we went to check inside, at a first glance there wasn't really anything in the back storage area, and checking the weapon racks there weren't any weapons there either. I'll take this moment to mention that the reason I'm narrating this whole video is because my audio settings weren't set up correctly in OBS, and so I don't actually have any gameplay audio for you. But as this will be an ongoing series, I didn't want to start at the point where I already had the Vulture without giving you a bit of the backstory. So once we salvaged a fair amount of that ship, we went to the salvage processing deck to go and essentially organize all the raw materials we had just obtained. The ship is equipped with these large printers, essentially, that take the raw material and put them into manageable crates, which then have to be moved and organized into storage using handheld tractor beams. I'm using the one that can be attached to the multi-tool, but my mate there, he has the larger Max tractor beam, I believe it's called. We proceeded to go onto another salvaging contract. This one was quite a large ship, the Drake Caterpillar, which is essentially a massive cargo ship. This one had way more panels and armor for us to scrape off the ship, which is what you see me doing with the scraper module here. You then use the massive claw to fracture the ship into more manageable sized chunks, like so. You can see I've got a couple of them selected. This claw will then slowly disintegrate those chunks, and then you'll see they get extracted into the ship through the claw. And just like that, we have fully salvaged a Drake Caterpillar. We then headed back to sell the materials that we had gathered. For trading in our materials, we went to the city Lorville on the planet Hurston. It's a majorly industrial city. It's arguably the only important landing zone on the planet. The rest of the planet has a lot of mining operations that go on, but as you can see, it is largely rock and desert. So at this stage, we're making our way towards the hangar, and due to the size of this ship, obviously the hangar is quite large. You get to see the landing gear deploying, which is quite cool to see. and my mate does a bit of a hot landing. Thankfully the ship survived. And this is really cool. It's one of the mechs which he had loaded on board. It's useful for moving crates quite well. So I move it onto the freight elevator here before lowering it. And you can see it can pick up these large crates, probably about the size of a shipping container, quite easily. And it can actually load it into the cargo or freight elevator from a major distance, which in a hangar this big saves us running back and forth. So didn't take too long. Before long we had everything loaded up, which you can see there. I believe that's one of the last crates. And here you can get quite a good look at the scale of this ship. It is massive. But we get the mech back onto the elevator and ride the elevator up to the cargo space. Here I was really impressed with just the technical achievements of Star Citizen, being able to have this freight elevator moving smoothly with a mech and a player on board without any glitching or anything like that. It was, very impressive to me. Something that Ogashi was mentioning as we were playing is that this ship reminds him a lot of the Alien franchise, and especially with the mech, I totally agree with him. It's really cool, the more industrial aesthetic that goes on with this ship, and definitely gives Alien vibes. You can see here as the ship is going into storage, the whole landing pad just drops down. It's one massive elevator for the ship, essentially. We made our way to the commercial district to sell the materials, and then Ogashi went ahead and transferred me the money we made and a bit extra so I could afford the Drake Vulture, as you can see here. 2.6 million credits. So that's how I got to where we were just before. So let's go on our first salvaging run by ourselves and see how much money we can make in a short amount of time. I love this ship, the rear cargo bay with the ramp. It's just such a nice step up from my starter ship, which is the Mustang Alpha. Only has a single cockpit. You can't walk around inside it. This has its own ladder, its own living quarters. It's a little compact, but it is an industrial ship. So the main difference you'll find between this ship and the Reclaimer that we were just on is the ship is clearly smaller, its storage capacity is much lower, and as such it doesn't do you as well to try and do large salvaging contracts of whole ships. But what I decided to do after doing some research is what the community calls panels. The Stanton star system, which we're in right now, has a large asteroid belt known as the Aran Halo. And in this asteroid belt, not only are there asteroids, but you can also find metal panels from old ships that will have probably hit asteroids at some point. And as you can see, I'm using the ship's scraper modules to get that panel material. This was described to me by Ogashi as being similar to Power Wash Simulator, or at least it scratches the same itch. And I can definitely say that if you're doing this and you chuck some music on, it can actually be quite enjoyable. You can see the printer on this ship is much smaller, and it prints out smaller crates, but with the amount of storage here, it works fairly well. The printer itself has onboard storage, so you can fill up the cargo bay and still then fill up the printer as well. And then when you're unloading the cargo at the end, you can print the remainder of the raw material into crates like these. So you can see I managed to fill up the storage bay as much as possible, even filling in the walkway, before heading back to Lawville on Hurston to sell all the raw materials I got from this session. Now, I would say I was probably out there for about a couple hours, so the earnings I make could be repeated 2 or 3 times a day technically, but you can see I'm loading up the freight elevator here, and it's a little deceptive. It looks like there's more there than there is because I kind of stacked it in a U shape. But I transfer everything to the warehouse, make my way back to that commercial district. And I took a moment to admire the area. It's quite a beautiful space. Considering it's an industrial planet, the commercial district is quite fancy looking. But you can see from everything that I obtained, I can sell for 482,000 credits. So theoretically, if you were to put some time into it, you could make almost 1 million credits in a day quite easily. So with the Drake Vulture set up, I'll be able to hopefully get another ship quite soon. I'm planning to work up my way towards a Constellation. They're my favourite ship in the game, have been since I first saw them. I just love the way they look. But obviously I couldn't have gotten to where I am right now without the help from Orgashi, so a massive thanks to him. The salvaging gameplay loop is one I do recommend, and if you want to make that grind a little quicker, I do highly recommend joining a player org, especially Nova Intergalactic. I've found them super useful, super friendly. And we will be continuing this adventure as I progress in the universe with actual gameplay audio, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching.